How's everyone doing this Tuesday? This is Alex, and welcome back to another essential presentation about the freight industry. All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a massive proposed rule change from the FMCSA. This is a big one, folks, because it could finally crack open that black box and let owner-operators see exactly where every single dollar from a load is going. And yeah, it could put a lot more of that cash right back in your pocket. Look, it's the question every single driver asks themselves, probably more than they'd like to admit. You do all the hard work, you're the one taking on all the risk out there on the road, but are you really getting your fair slice of the pie? For way too long, the real answer has been totally hidden. And believe me, this isn't just some made-up scenario. Check out this real-world example from a landline report. A load booked with the shipper for $6,500. But the trucker who actually hauled it, they saw less than $2,000. That is a huge, huge gap. And that's exactly the kind of thing these new rules are aiming to stop. So how in the world is a discrepancy like that even possible? Well, it all boils down to the way the system works right now, which for all intents and purposes is a total black box when it comes to the money. Now, you might actually be surprised to hear that a rule for transparency technically already exists. It's called 49 CFR 371.3, and it gives carriers a right to look at a broker's records for any given load. Sounds pretty good on paper, doesn't it? But in the real world, that little word right comes with a massive, massive catch. And here it is. This is the loophole big enough to drive a truck through. Brokers can just stick a little clause into their contracts that says you, the carrier, agree to waive that right. If you want the load, you've got to sign the waiver. And just like that, boom, the block box is locked up tight and it's all perfectly legal. It's a common practice that's made the old rule pretty much useless. But that could all be on the verge of changing. The FMCSA has definitely been hearing the complaints from groups like OOIDA, and now they're proposing a new rule that could finally unlock that box once and for all. And here is the absolute heart of the proposal. It flips the whole script. See, it's no longer about a carrier's right that you can just sign away in the fine print. No, this would make transparency a broker's legal duty, an obligation they can't just get out of. So this isn't some tiny little tweak to the language. We're talking about a complete overhaul. Let's break down the 4 biggest changes that you absolutely need to know about. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's completely night and day. We go from a right you can waive to a strict duty that you can't. From old school paper records you might have to travel hundreds of miles to see, to mandatory electronic records sent right to you. From vague access to seeing the full content. And this one is huge. From no deadline at all to a strict 48-hour response time. So what does full content really mean? In a nutshell, everything. The whole shebang. You get to see the original rate confirmation from the shipper, the line haul, the fuel surcharge, all the accessorials, every single fee and deduction. It means there's simply nowhere for hidden markups and shady splits to hide anymore. And burn this number into your brain. 48. 48 hours. Under this new rule, once you make a request to see those records, the broker has just 2 days to get them to you. No more stalling, no more overworking on it for weeks on end. This deadline puts some real teeth into the whole thing. Okay, so that's the rule. But listen, knowing the rule is only half the battle, right? The other half, the important half, is knowing how to actually use it to protect your business and your bottom line. So let's get into your new playbook. And don't worry, this is actually super simple to do. First, put your request in writing. An email is perfect. Make sure you specifically mention the FMCSA transparency rule. Then, list out exactly what you need to see, the rate con, all the charges, everything. The best time to do this? Send it right after you get that POD signed. And if that 48-hour clock runs out and you've heard nothing but crickets, you follow up right away. So, once you get those documents, you need to put on your auditor hat. You're looking for red flags. Is the rate on the shipper's rate con way higher than what the broker told you? Are there sudden chargebacks or fees that you never agreed to? Do all the names and MC numbers on the paperwork actually match up? Any one of these could be a sign of anything from a deeply unfair split to straight up fraud. So what happens if a broker just blows you off or flat out says no? You've got a powerful tool. You can file a formal complaint directly with the FMCSA using their National Consumer Complaint Database. This creates an official paper trail, and believe me, it puts that broker directly on the agency's radar. This all sounds fantastic, I know, But the million-dollar question is, when can you actually start doing all this? Well, it's really important to understand the timeline here. So let's be real, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. Government regulations move at their own pace. The first proposal is slated for late 2024. Then there's a comment period. The next big step, a more refined proposal, is planned for May of 2026. Realistically, that means a final rule probably won't be published and actually take effect until late 2026, or maybe sometime in 2027. So the bottom line is this. No, you can't use these exact rules today, but change is officially in motion. The gears of regulation are turning, and for the first time in a long time, they are grinding in the direction of real transparency. You know, this quote from OOIDA really just hits the nail on the head. It sums up the entire point of this whole fight. It's about leveling the playing field. It's about making sure that the person who's actually doing the work and taking all the risk is treated fairly. It's about taking away the shadows where the bad actors love to hide. So as this rule gets closer and closer to becoming a reality, it all comes down to one final question for you. This change is going to hand you the data and the power that drivers have been asking for years. The real question is, what are you going to do to get ready? Will you have the systems in place to request those records on every load, to audit them, and to use that information to protect your business? Now's the time to start thinking about it.